Blair Taylor has a piece called 7 Myths About Capitalism that explores common misconceptions about capitalism by progressives and leftists. These false explanations lead to misplaced criticism and ineffective organizing. As someone who started, their full speed political organizing in the Occupy movement, this list, man. It takes me back, 2011 and 2012 and the fights that I had within the movement because of things like greed caused this, right? What is greed? Greed is, a radical version of taking self-preservation and self-interest to a radical level, right? And we all have self-interest. It's just part of what we have. Corruption caused this, right? This isn't the problem of capital, it's the problem of corrupt people, which stops us from looking at systems and instead gets us looking at individuals. Wall Street and monetary policy caused this, right? Big corporations caused this. But capitalism existed before those things. Those are certainly tools of capitalism. Those are certainly some of the key tools in their bag right now. But they are not the end all be all. And ending them would not guarantee an end to capitalism. Conspiracy caused this. Is a really dangerous one, right? Because when you look at the world around us, no one's happy. Left or right, no one thinks things are going right. And so the idea that we live in a failed state, that capitalism is failing, really isn't controversial. Now, using that term might have people push back, but when you start talking to people, you find out most people don't think that what we have right, our society is succeeding. And so they take that first step of questioning. But because we don't have a serious left in this country, they get sucked in, right? They're now susceptible. Their worldview has been shattered. The bubble's been broken, and they're looking for something new. And too often, especially in the West, they can fall into these conspiracy holes. The idea of argument, and we see this in the Trump MAGA movement, the idea that taking America back and returning to normal is what we need, but that doesn't recognize that the United States has always been like this, right? The core things about the United States are the problem. I know a lot of people that really deify the Constitution, but when you read past the pretty words of the Constitution, what you find out is that it's a document that established a country that was an oligarchy, that established a country that was built on racism, sexism, classism, right? That was built on the theft of land. And so when we deify the past and when we have this rose-colored vision of the past, it completely distorts what the real problem is, because the problem was there then too, right? The times that people often say were nice and were the boom times and the great times were not great for everyone. They just happened to be on the top of the hill, or not even on the top. They happened to be on the hill instead of under the hill at that point. And then the idea that we can build full alternatives to capitalism now without addressing how difficult it is to build autonomy under the totality of capitalism, right? A lot of people talk about, creating our own parallel system that will somehow, win the dialectical battle. But with the totality of capitalism today, it's a huge task, right? We really have to understand that we can't just carve out this niche and exist in socialism there. It's one of the downfalls of the co-op movement, for example, right? Yes, a worker-owned business is better than a privately owned business in terms of the rights of the workers. But if it's still operating within the global capitalist system, it's not really, the co-op movement is not threatening capitalism. Small worker-owned projects under capitalism are not threatening capitalism. So we have to understand that the totality of capitalism requires that the totality of capitalism be addressed.